Hello, everybody, and welcome to Free UFC Bet Picks. Thanks for tuning into our show today. We are here talking about UFC Vegas 16, Hermansson versus Vettori. We just watched the weigh-ins and face-offs, and we are here with our final thoughts and, of course, bets, parlays, DFS advice, everything that you need. So let's not waste any time here. Get right into it, starting with the prelims and working our way up to the main card, starting with Jean Vellante versus Jake Collier. Vellante moneyline is now at minus 200. He is the favorite, and Collier the underdog at plus 168. What are your thoughts on this one?
We were really looking forward to seeing the weigh-ins for this one because they both, were really out of shape their last fight. Vellante last fought at 255. Today he came in at 243, a full 12 pounds under his last time. Collier, we were saying if he came in under 260, that would show that he, was working a lot harder. He had to cut like 20 pounds last time to make 265. He looked way better than he did in his last fight against Tom Aspinall. So you can tell that he's indeed been, working harder than he did for that fight. He came in at 264, but again, looked way better. So I'm feeling much more excited for this fight, first of all.
Yeah.
We said they're heavyweights and it could get sloppy. Somebody could get finished, but it was kind of a pass as far as heavyweights go. Maybe have them in a few lineups. But I feel like both these guys have a better opportunity to score higher now. So I'd say, I'm a little more inclined to play them in DFS. And other than that, I think the line's just about right. I think Collier could out-wrestle him. Has good grappling. Vellante should win the striking, but I don't think Collier is just going to let him, jab and piece him up for 15 minutes. So, right. To me, it's a dog or pass situation. Good DFS options. We said previously that everyone just was thinking the under on this, and I was inclined to think that it had a bigger opportunity. People think, all right, when the guys are going to get tired, then someone's going to get finished. I actually think when they're tired, then that makes it more likely that they're going to have a stalemate, stalling, boring third round and go to decision, right? But I think, the fight to not go to distance is a safe play after seeing that they've been actually training for this fight.
Yeah. All right, next up, we've got Ilia Topria versus Damon Jackson. Topria, the favorite, at minus 270, and Jackson, the underdog, at plus 220. What are your thoughts on this one? Really
excited for this one. I still think Damon Jackson's great value. I think this should be a pick'em fight. Damon Jackson's got the striking edge. Ilia Topria got that one heavy-handed knockout in his last fight before coming to the UFC, but we saw in the Zalal fight his striking is not that great. And he's a very good fighter, so I'm not just talking smack about Topria. He's a very good fighter, but people think he's just like going to steamroll Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson's really solid. I think Damon Jackson has the technical striking edge. He, likes to just go for guillotine. He's too in love with it sometimes, and Topria definitely has the opportunity to out-wrestle him here. And Topuria's got great jiu-jitsu, so he's not going to get guillotined all silly, right? But Jackson's, I think, got the striking edge and the cardio edge. And Topuria's got the wrestling edge, and so I think it's a pick'em fight. I told you guys that he was not 6 inches taller than Topuria. Topuria is not 5'5". You can tell at the stare downs that they were only, I'd say, like 3 inches apart, and they were both in sandals, if I recall. So that wasn't an issue. So the height advantage is overstated, like we told you, but so is the line. The line's too wide, and I think they're both great DFS plays. Topuria, I think, is a little pricey. Because I don't see him just first round submitting Damon Jackson like a lot of people think. Damon Jackson's really solid.
Right. All right, moving on to our next one here. It is Jimmy Flick versus Cody Durden. Flick is the favorite here at minus 164, and Durden the underdog at plus 138. What are your thoughts on this one?
This was an important one. Durden's dropping down in weight to 125 for the first time. He made it. He was 125 and a half, but he had sunglasses on the whole time, which a lot of times means that they're they had a tough weight cut. Like, it really is a thing. He seemed pretty confident at the stare downs. He was talking to Jimmy, but and he didn't have trouble balancing. He didn't look too drawn out. He didn't chug water the second he stepped off the scale or anything. So I think overall it's I pretty much feel the same way, that I think the over on this fight is really nice. It's been the money's been pouring in on the over the last couple of days actually, but I think if you liked Flick already, I'd be a tiny bit more confident in him now. But I still kind of feel the same way. I think Durden's pretty live. I like the over. I think this is a very close fight. And, Flick's not going to first round submit him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Flick probably could win. Flick could win the wrestling. I think Durden's got a little bit more pop on his punches, but Flick's got nice striking normally. Sometimes he does shell up and just allow the damage to come to him like he did against Ray Rodriguez. Not quite like a Malcolm Gordon level by any means, but a similar situation. Just when the pace gets put on him, that's the only time you've seen him in trouble. Durden knows that, should try to do that. But, the pick is Flick, but I think the bet would be the over.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next one. It is Matt Wyman versus Jordan Levitt. Levitt the favorite here, a big favorite at minus 450, and Wyman the underdog at plus 350. What are you thinking here?
Still big on Levitt. Wyman I thought he looked a little soft at the weigh-ins. He had good energy. He was, 155.5, but I thought he looked a little soft, like just in the biceps. I went back and looked at his last weigh-ins and stare downs and everything. We obviously watched the Smolka fight, but sometimes a day later they can, they have a lot more moisture in the body and they just look different. So I went back and looked at the weigh-ins and stare down, and it wasn't much of a difference. So I think he looks the same as he did in the last fight. Good energy. I think Wyman is going to be at his best, but I don't think that's enough. Levitt looked great. Levitt's got every edge in my opinion. I don't think Levitt's going to submit him. That's what the bookies are predicting. I do still stand by Levitt by decision, but the over in this fight I like. Levitt is a main parlay piece. At the end of this video, I'll break down some of my parlays that I played, and she's got a whole video just about hers later.
Yeah. And if you do want to get in on Levitt by decision, that's plus 160. I don't have the over written down here, but we also do have a little fight goes to decision at plus 105. All of those are pretty good. And you did pass on these on DraftKings in our earlier video, still standing by that.
Yeah, even though I think Levitt's great for cash games, he's I think a certain winner. He's very sure pick for a win. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring if he does kind of just out wrestle Matt Wyman for 15 minutes. So he's not a bad play by any means, but I just think he's a little pricey and he might not end up in the optimal lineup. So for cash games, great play. GPP, I don't think so. And Matt Wyman, I don't think is going to score very high in a loss here, and I don't think he's going to win.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next fight here. It is Luis Smolka versus Jose Quinones. Smolka is the favorite at minus 136. Quinones the underdog at plus 116. What are you thinking about this one?
I like Quinones. We picked him last time because of Smolka's weight issues, but this time we told you, Smolka's a better fighter. If we knew he'd come in with as prepared as possible, if we knew he'd come in at his best, I think he'd be like a minus 200 favorite here. He's the better fighter. And he looked great. He was the third guy to weigh in. He weighed in like a full pound and a half to spare. He weighed in at 134.5. He could have been as heavy as 136. So he made it with plenty of room and looked great. The stare down was rather uneventful. They both looked ready. They sized up pretty much equally like we knew they would. And I did actually add Smolka to a couple parlays this morning after he weighed in and looked so good. So I think Smolka's pretty good value, actually. He looked like he really, I don't know, maybe Dana White talked to him a couple weeks ago and was like, dude, this is your last chance. How did you just, we just had multiple fights fall off this card. I can't believe you did, so I think he might have gotten a wake-up call last time. He looked great. Yeah.
And I'm still thinking these are both solid plays for fantasy as well.
Yeah, I do lean even more towards Smolka now. He was, $400 more expensive than Quinones, but I think again that's good value. I think he's the much better fighter here. But I think they're both good plays because I don't think this fight's gonna be boring. These guys both bring it.
All right, moving on to our next one here. It is Nate Landwehr versus Movsar Evloev. Evloev, huge favorite here at minus 560, and Landwehr the underdog at plus 420. What do you think about this one?
Evloev looked all right. He had sunglasses on, which normally I'd take as concerning, but he weighed in with sweats on. So he obviously made weight just fine. He weighed in at 145.5. So again, he had a pound and a half to spare. He looked shredded. He was the fifth one to weigh in. So, his body language and the stare down, it was intense, but I don't know. Nate looked really good. Evloev looked a tiny bit out of it, but again, he made it by a pound and a half. So I don't know what to make of. Maybe you shouldn't make anything of it. Stand by, that this fight is likely going to go to decision. Fight to go to the distance at minus 186. Evloev by decision at minus 140 or so, somewhere in that area. Still like those, and I think Evloev could break a lot of hearts this weekend. Landwehr is a stud. Landwehr's the bigger guy. And this is going to be a really good fight. They both have good get-ups. They both have decent wrestling. Evloev's more technical in every area, we know. But, sometimes it doesn't matter. Landwehr, he's really flashy. And when he does land, people take notice. You can hear it. He's got the more power on his shots, I think, and especially the more attractive shots from these judges' point of view. So Evloev could be picking them apart for 4 minutes, and then one heavy overhand lands for Nate. I just think this line is way too wide. Definitely have Evloev in a couple of parlays. Don't have any bets on Nate. All right, full transparency. But Evloev is not my first, second, third, fourth leg. Like, I've got Santos, Levitt, a bunch of people that I'm more confident, at the line, at the price. I just think it's way too way too wide of a line. I think Evloev, people that are really heavy on him are going to be sweating because Landwehr's really good.
Yeah. And as far as fantasy, I believe you said a pass on Evloev and a possible punt play on Landwehr. Still feeling that way? Landwehr's only 6,900.
Mm-hmm. And especially, he could score 40, 50 points in a loss if it goes to decision. Like if these guys strike the whole time or if there's back and forth wrestling. So, I still think that, again, same thing said about Levitt. Evloev, good cash play. He's probably going to win here. He should win, right? But when these fights go to decision, again, like we said, that's an ingredient of a parlay buster, of a upset, of a bad decision, of people crying robbery for the next week. Landwehr's bigger. There's lots of ingredients of an upset here.
Yeah.
Landwehr's not some joke. Charlie Ontiveros coming in against Kevin Holland. Yeah, he should be a 5-1 dog. Sure. This is not like that.
All right, moving on to our next fight here. It is Romandelezi versus John Allen. Deleze the favorite at -184 and Allen the underdog at +154. What are you thinking about this one? This
one is interesting. So John Allen, he got busted for tamoxifen recently. It's the estrogen booster that helps you kind of not have such negative side effects from steroids. It's just proof that he's on roids, right? Mm-hmm. So he got busted by USADA, but he looked to me that I was hoping that we were going to see a softer version of him. When you're coming off those PEDs, you lose like a lot of musculature, right? And I like Romandelezi a lot, so I was hoping that we'd see kind of a bad version of John Allen, but he looked the exact same as he did against Mike Rodriguez. It's everyone's kind of like got it on their minds because of Izzy and his pec issue, that people say is steroids related. It's funny because when his hands are down, John Allen has like a lot of just kind of extra like little fat there, like at the bottom of his pecs. When he puts his hands up or when he flexes, it kind of goes away. But I had to go back and look at his weigh-ins against Mike Rodriguez, and he had it there too. What's interesting is against Mike Rodriguez, he came in at 203. There was short notice, and he came in, 2 pounds, 3 pounds under. Today he was right at 205. So he looked, I don't know. I was hoping that we'd see just a really bad version of him. He looked good. I still think Roman's the pick, but John Allen looked so good against Mike Rodriguez. Hypothetically, he shouldn't want to wrestle with Deleze because Deleze's grappling resume. Mm-hmm. But we don't really see that. I think this fight is a really good fight. They both like to counter strike. They both like to get the other guy to come towards them and land overhand counters. Roman looked really confident. So I like Roman. Roman's the pick. I'm just nervous that Allen could wrestle and do kind of what he did against Mike Rodriguez because I like Mike Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And I think they're both good fantasy plays. This fight should be fireworks. The thing is, like, a lot of times everyone's like, oh, Romandelezi is such an aggressive striker. Like, not really. He like gets guys to come to them. He's not just going in steamrolling people. And if these guys, again, if it's like two guys looking in a mirror waiting for the other one to throw, it could be a very low volume affair. So we're kind of counting on a finish here, and that could be dangerous. So I'd say tread easy on that fight for DFS. It's not a certain knockout in my opinion.
Right. All right, let's move on to our next fight here. It is Montana De La Rosa versus Tyler Santos. Santos the favorite here at -225 and De La Rosa the underdog at +188. What are you thinking here?
Last thing, I know and we'll touch, keep it there if you would. The last fight, the juice is really heavy that the fight's not going to go to decision. I think a sneaky play is that it actually could go to decision. Like, you call me crazy if, these guys both have so much power, but I just really think that I think that this fight could go to decision. So take a look at that prop bet. I'm not looking at it in front of me, but everyone's expecting a slobber knocker in this fight, and I just think that this fight could get drawn out. 15 minutes could fly by.
Yeah.
Sorry. So De La Rosa, she looked good, solid energy. She weighed in at 126, which is the max. Santos looked shredded. 125 and a half. Good stare down. Really nothing to report. They both did a nice professional job. Good respectful stare down, intense stare down. Still think Santos is better in every area. The Barella fight makes you worried that Santos could get held up against a cage for 10 minutes or something, but I don't see that happening. I think she's strong enough to explode out of those situations. De La Rosa is so tough. We've seen it multiple times where she gets battered and just keeps fighting the whole time. So the fight to go to decision, I know it's minus money, but it's chalky, but I'm really confident in those. We have some of those in parlays, and Santos is the pick. But they both did a great job, getting ready for this fight. It should be an exciting one.
Yeah. And are you still thinking a pass on fantasy?
Basically, yeah. Santos is too expensive. De La Rosa is 7,300. Sneaky punt play. But yeah, I think it's still a pass. I still think it's going to go to decision. Too expensive for Santos at 8,900, in my opinion.
Yeah.
De La Rosa is sneaky. 7,300. I think that's a sneaky punt play.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next fight here. It is Gabriel Benitez versus Justin Janes. Benitez, the favorite at minus 205, and Janes, the underdog at plus 172. What are you thinking here?
They both look good. Janes, looks solid, great energy. He was jogging up on stage and stuff. He didn't have to cut as much weight this time. He's the one that wanted this fight at lightweight. So hope we might see a better gas tank. He's known for gassing, and he might have a little more cardio this time because of that. Benitez looked shredded, looked ready, 155 and a half. Good solid, stare down. I think this is really going to be a super exciting fight. I do still stand by Benitez winning. I think he's got the better kicks. We saw Janes limping, in his last fight after the first round with Omar Morales from the leg kicks. Benitez has got that opportunity. He's a southpaw, so we might see some nice body kicks as well. We should. So I think Benitez is good enough in the pocket. He doesn't want to get into a phone booth fight with Justin Janes. Certainly not. He needs to stick and move and use those kicks. But if it does get close enough, he's really sufficient in the like I said, in the pocket in those tighter exchanges. And he definitely should have the wrestling and grappling edge. So I think Benitez looked great, and happy that he looked good. We got a number of bets with including him.
Yeah. And still thinking they're both solid plays for fantasy?
Yeah. 8,600 for Benitez. It's close, but I think he's going to win. It's going to be high scoring fashion, and of course if James wins, we expect a knockout. So yeah. Both good plays.
All right, let's move on to our co-main event here. It is Ovince St. Preux versus Jamal Hill. St. Preux, the underdog at plus 136, and he did miss weight today. Hill, the favorite at minus 162. What are you thinking about this one?
I was kind of easing off this fight until today. After the weigh-ins, it did place a couple of pretty heavy bets, include Jamal Hill. He looks great, energetic. He always comes in on weight just fine. OSP was 207 and a half. Missed. It's just a pound and a half. He just had to get to 206, and he wouldn't be losing a ton of money, right? Mm-hmm. So that shows me that he tried. When these people miss weight by 5 pounds, like Norma Dumont, they just got as close as they could without the fight getting canceled, right? OSP did everything he could to make 206, and couldn't. He did seem to have fine energy, didn't have any trouble balancing or anything. He didn't seem to be in a super grumpy mood. Silly as that sounds, but you can often tell a lot about how the weight cut went based on their demeanor.
Yeah.
Jamal Hill looked great, swaggery, just lots of good energy, and so I think he's a really safe pick, decent value. OSP, he should have the wrestling edge. He should go in there and wrestle him. But Jamal Hill, we see big time improvements out of him. I have confidence that he'll be able to last through that. Even if OSP gets him down in the first round and wins, I think Jamal Hill will come back and win rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah. And still thinking they're both decent DFS plays.
Yeah, I do. OSP's got the submission game. He's got those counters. He's won so many fights just by one punch counters, uppercuts, overhands, straights. And Jamal Hill just, like I said, he's not throwing like an incredibly high pace, but it just adds up. It's nonstop. It's, 1-2s, 1-2s, 1-2 kicks, and it just adds up. So before you know it, he's got a ton of significant strikes, even though he was never in there like flurrying. He never gasses himself. A very just nice technical game that we compare to OSP's, similar technical striking, low volume, but consistent pace, you can call it.
Yeah.
So I think, Jamal Hill, even in a decision win, would score pretty high, and I think he's got a chance of knocking OSP out. And OSP, his only chance, I think, is by finish. I don't think he can lay and pray and squeak out a decision here because I don't think he has the energy for it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our main event of the evening. It is Jack Hermansson versus Marvin Vettori. Should be a really exciting one here. We've got Vettori as the favorite, -136, and Hermansson the underdog at +116. What do you think about this one?
I still think it's such a tough fight to pick. Hermansson, you could look back at his resume and say, these guys aren't that great. Kelvin Gastelum's a welterweight. Jacare was over the hill. But, you can kind of talk crap about Vittori's resume as well. The split loss to Izzy looks good, but I think it looks better than it was. And it's just a tough fight. I do think the line is pretty much right here. I think Vettori he's got, like I told you previously, he's got world-class takedown defense. And it's not just that he has fought guys who don't want to wrestle him, because his opponent's takedown percentage, in fights besides him is like 40, 50%. It's solid enough. And their takedown percentage against him is like 12%. He does have a really, really solid takedown defense. He's the thicker guy here. Jack, absolutely has the opportunities to get some tricky, greasy stuff, some trips. His type of submissions that he wants, the heel hooks, the guillotines, those are better early in the fight. Some submissions you want the sweat and blood, some you don't. In guillotine, you want a dry head. Heel hooks, you obviously want a dry foot. So he gets a lot of people in first round submission. I still think those round submission props are pretty good. I think like the first round, in the fourth and fifth round, he has a really good opportunity of submitting Vettori because of the dryness from round 1 and the cardio from 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Vettori's shown good cardio in the past, but we know he's on something of short notice here. He was really amped at the weigh-ins, almost overly amped. He screamed, "Let's effing go!" But on the scale, he didn't look like relieved. He didn't like rub his face in relief when he made weight, but he was kind of like, "For real, yeah." He looked surprised and happy that he made weight a little bit. He was just super amped. I went back and looked his last fight against Carl Roberson. He was extremely calm on the scales. A couple fights ago against Cesar Ferreira, he was a little bit amped. He did kind of a different type of flex and then just a clap as he was getting off. But this time he was like wild, really wild. Maybe it's because he's trying to sell the fight. You never know. But I think if he does come in overeager, that favors Hermansson. He like all the scrambles, all the sloppiness, the small cage. We didn't say it once in all of our 11 breakdown videos. The small cage, favors Hermansson. You would think, right? But just Vittori's boxing, the takedown defense, I think he should be a slim favorite here, like he is. So in the breakdown video, we said get the over 2.5. That was plus money. Now it's like -126.
Yeah.
So money's coming in on that over that we, when we recorded Tuesday night, at least it was like +120, I think.
Yeah.
And I still like the round 1, round 4 and 5, sub props for Jack.
And still thinking they're both solid plays on fantasy as well?
Definitely, especially since it's a 5-round fight. Honestly, in a cash game, you don't want to do this in a GPP, but you hear about stacking where you play both of these guys. You normally want to do that in like a Max Holloway fight where it's going to probably not end in the first round. There's going to be lots of striking, right? And where you pick both opponents. And they've got a 40% time advantage. They've got 10 extra minutes, versus these guys fighting 3 rounds only. So this might be an opportunity to stack these guys, honestly, because if it does go the over and if they're boxing for over 15 minutes, then you're just raking in free bonus time.
Yeah.
And they're not that expensive, 8,000 and 8,200. I think they're both good plays. Don't do that in a guaranteed prize pool because you're not gonna have leverage. You're costing yourself the upside. You just want upside. You're hoping to get all 6 best finishers of the night, best scorers of the night. That's how you take down those big prize pools. So cash, you might even stack these guys, but they're both good plays. I'd have one of these guys in almost every lineup.
Yeah. Right. I think that does it for the card. Did you want to go into a little parlay breakdown?
Yeah, so I think the safest leg is just Levitt money line. It's like minus 400, depends where you're looking. I don't think there's any way Matt Wyman wins, all right? So let's say that you just put all your money on that and you get 25% back. You put down $100, you get 25 back. Like, you're going to do better than most bettors this weekend, especially, people who are betting on just NFL and stuff. Like, if you told a bettor, hey, I've got a guaranteed lock that's going to get you 25% of your bankroll back, everyone should jump all over that. And I think that's Jordan Levitt. We all get too greedy though, right? So here's what, so we've got, I've got parlay with Delitze and the Jordan Levitt, Matt Wyman over 2.5. Because even if Wyman wins, it's going to be a decision. Like, I feel very confident that this fight's going to go to a decision. I don't think Levitt's going to, sub him right away. So that's one. Delitze plus, Wyman, Levitt over 2.5. Got a Evloev by decision, Levitt money line, Benitez money line. Got a Benitez money line, Benitez and Janes under 2.5, plus Levitt. Just simple as that, just two legs. Here's a longer one, the over 2.5 for the MJ fight, the Matt Wyman and Jordan Levitt fight. Over 2.5 in Wyman Levitt. Over 1.5 in Flick Durden. Over 2.5 in the Jack and Martin. So the three overs that we've been telling you about. Tyler and Roman, Benitez, Tyler, Roman, and all those overs. Levitt by decision, the Jack, Jack and Martin over. So you can see, like, there's 6 or 7 things you're very confident in. Sprinkle them around. You sprinkle them around, and it helps you not lose all of your bets because you put Louis Cosi in all of them or Bobby Green in all of them, right? So last week, that's how we ended up. Call it a round robin, if you will. But it's like, it's not just a round robin, because you can put that in. You can just put your 6 picks in and say round robin all these. But it's, there's just a little bit more. It's like a manual round robin, if you will. So you got a Movzar and Landwehr to go to the judges, plus Benitez, plus Levitt by decision. We got a Santos by decision, plus Levitt money line. We've got that Montana versus Tyler. Montana and Tyler over 2.5, plus Jordan Levitt. Got a Levitt, Figgy, Connor. And then today did a, Jordan Hill KO, Levitt, Smolka, Benitez. And then just a really, really, really heavy Hill money line, and Figgy money line. So, like, the shorter they are, the more expensive they get. The longer they get, obviously you're going to make them cheaper, right? But also you should be less greedy with your methods. So, typically I don't do a bunch of, like, Levitt by decision plus Movzar by decision plus Santos by decision, because one of them's going to get a finish and they're going to cost you. Got to keep it simple, right? So mix those around. Mix in some futures, like if there's a future bet that you're really confident in, that's how you gain the edge. Because, like Figgy, we were getting him at minus 255. Now he's like minus 300, minus 320. He's going to be wider than that. Right now, Connor's like minus 225. He's going to be like minus 300, in mid-January, as we approach that fight. So start mixing in some of those overs. Keep your bets short. Keep your parlays short. Just get your money back. Get your money back with a little bit of free on top, and you're going to kill it. And you're going to be happy. You're going to be having fun watching the fights. So hope that makes sense. The biggest parlays I've got currently are just Levitt moneyline, Figgy and Connor, Hill moneyline and Figgy, Montana Tyler over 2.5 plus Jordan Levitt moneyline, and Hill KO, Levitt, Smolka, Benitez. That one, that's 4 legs with the method mixed in. That's where it starts getting risky, but I feel pretty confident about all 4 of those, and so hope that helps.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a wrap on UFC Vegas 16. Should be a really fun and exciting card here. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. Thank you all, and enjoy the fights.
Yeah, enjoy. We'll see you guys next time.